Aloha, I'm William Wilson, and this is Jason Oyota Cabral, and we're going to give a PowerPoint. But we have to, before we begin, we've been asked by, or told, by the ladies who are really in charge back home that we need to follow how they do with their teacher workshops and make sure that we find out if you really understood what we said. They want to check on us. So they asked that you to fill out this part before, and then afterwards there'll be some questions about how effective I was in communicating what they're doing back home. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then I'd like to begin by saying, first of all, thank you to ILI and congratulations on the 25th anniversary. I remember when that happened back in the day, and it's really exciting to be here and see this big group of people. And I'm going to be talking about using the language in schooling, which is a step that happens after you have kids who can speak the language, or you have a strong enough group of adults who can teach through the language. And have to recognize where we first heard about this idea was in the newspaper in Hawaii, heard about this is in the 60s, the Navajos actually could have school in their language, Rock Point and Rough Rock. So I want to recognize the Navajos for being so progressive in doing that. Yeah, and so one of the students, Florian, is now, Florian Johnson has been really helpful to us in moving our program forward. And then also, I don't know if you heard, we're going to have a Mohawk presentation, and we learned a lot from the Mohawk people, especially Gadiwahaway Dorothy Lazor came and helped us to convince our Board of Education to allow Hawaiian in the school. It was actually illegal to use the Hawaiian language in schooling from 1896 to 1986. So we had to go to the legislature to try to change the law, but we were breaking the law in the meantime for about 3 years. So we really received a lot of help from them, and although there's no one from New Zealand, we also got help from New Zealand. We also got help from the Wallapais up at Lucille Wadahamaji. So I just want to recognize those people because the kind of things that we've done, you might think, oh wow, look what they did. Well, actually we copied other people, or we had other people help us. So that's the first thing. So hopefully you have gotten that far.
Oh.
Okay, right.
Aloha kākou. If you could you use your telephones or devices to go online right now? This is a sort of an interactive survey. We'll be able to see our answers as you guys type them in. So if you guys could go ahead and go to menti.com, Menti, I don't know, and then type in that code, 57099.
Okay, so, ola kokeia.
Hi.
Okay, while you're doing that, maybe I should give you a little background information. Again, I'm going to say that you're going to see little children all speaking Hawaiian. I think you need to realize that those little children were developed by second language speakers of Hawaiian. The last people who grew up speaking Hawaiian as their home language and peer group language, like when they're little kids, they used to play in Hawaiian, were born before 1920. So when ILIS started, I remember coming here and we were so amazed that there were young people who were speaking the languages. Everybody seemed to speak the language. It wasn't our case where people were second language speakers, not first language speakers. So what you're going to be seeing is people who grew out of second language speakers. When we started, some people had grandparents that could speak the language, but not all of them. Today we don't have grandparents that can speak the language.
Have most of you filled this part out, the first question? Ready?
The wonders of technology.
I think there's two more people. 23. You all got it?
Wow. We still have a lot of people here who could speak the language from when they were children. That's really amazing. Here me now, Yota. Nui koe.
E lua pa.
Oh.
Kia ka nina hope. Udam.
Lawa. Hai. Kona la hui. Yeah.
Mahalo.
Okay. So I guess they're trying to check up on me. My presentation is going to be, I typed up some things because I suspected that you're going to want to know how we got to this stage. And that will be, if I have time at the end, I'll bring that up. And then if not, we'll do that in the breakout. Okay, because I can see your interest is really how to get to this stage rather than what happens once you're there. But I think it's really important for you to understand what happens when you're there, because everyone will tell you if they're not saying it, they're thinking it. If they speak this language, they won't be very smart. They won't learn English. They won't this. They won't that. And so this is to show you that that's not true. Okay, so that's the big point here. So now I use the word Indigenous language medium education because that's what we use at home, not immersion, because in America and in Canada, immersion is to learn it as a second language and not make it your home language. So our purpose in our schooling in Hawaii is not only to make it your home language, it's to create a community of speakers. So this is different from what Krashen was talking about yesterday. Oh, how do I learn a language? It's not about me, it's about a community. So we're trying to create a community of speakers. And it's really hard. So it takes a lot of work. It's not like just go to the country and speak, because right now we're right here in the Pueblo, and I'm not hearing or learning any of the language. So you have to create things. You have to work hard to do that. So we're going to start now. So our introduction, this Mokuolo Honua is the ladies back home. They created this. It's a center now that we have. We're going to talk about what is indigenous multilingualism, because we don't want them just to speak one language like maybe great-grandpa did. We want them to be able to speak English too, and maybe another and another. And then literacy, when you go to school, you have to be able to read and write. How do you learn to read and write if your first language or your primary language is an indigenous language? How do you access writing English? How do you access writing Japanese? So we're going to use an example of what we do in our consortium, or we're using this term, this Mokuolo Honua Center for it. It's in Hilo, Hawaii, which is on a rural island of the state of Hawaii. And we're going to talk about the Native American language medium education advantage, that children who are educated and speak their indigenous language do better in school than other kids. So we're going to look at that. So here's, we bring people to come and visit in real life, and you can come, and here's a picture of the people. So we have a collaboration with the Ahapunaleo preschools. We have 12 Hawaiian medium preschools throughout the state, but we have one in particular we use as a model. And then we have a Navajo school, K-12, and then we have our college that's taught through Hawaiian as well, all the way to the PhD. And then we have a coalition of Native American language schools. So we have here today one of the members, it's Tsutsoi Dinebeolta, and where's the teacher? I saw her earlier. Anyway, there is a teacher here from the school. Homo. So here's an example of Ojibwe school with Wadoka Doding. So those are some kids from that school. We're in 16 states, and 16 states, 15 languages. These are places where the kids go to school in the language. It's not like a class. It's like they're in Germany going to school in German. Okay, so here we have a Cherokee school, a Yupik school. I saw somebody from Yupik, yay. And then here we have the Tsutsutsoi Dinebeolta school in Fort Defiance. So what is multilingualism for indigenous people? Before the colonial period, before Columbus or whatever, a lot of people spoke more than one language. It's not uncommon to be able to speak more than one language. But today people are saying, well, what if they speak Hawaiian, they won't be able to speak English, but before everybody could speak a lot of languages, and then when the other people came, a lot of people learned those other languages too, and then even now we've got people here who have learned, go out to other countries and learn other languages as well. So it's not unusual to be able to speak more than one language for Indigenous people. In fact, the smaller you are, the smaller your language, the more likely you are to speak many languages. Okay, so we got that covered. Then what is Indigenous language literacy? Meaning you can read in your language. So all Indigenous people have some system of symbols. Like you can see on Yota's shirt we have from the Hawaiian Tapa Designs. It's not exactly writing, but you can interpret what it means. It's used for symbols. I don't know about the pottery, but there's all this pottery with all these symbols on it. 3 places invented writing. Writing meaning that you can pronounce exactly, and then the next person can pronounce it exactly, and the next person can pronounce it exactly. So China and Iraq, and then in Mexico. So this is an example of their writing from Mexico, which I guess not that far from here. So, and then the Europeans, they all learned the writing from, there's a complex genealogy, I'm going to show you later, from Iraq. So our English writing is not, they didn't invent it in England. It was the missionaries brought it to them. And then some people invented writing when they saw other people writing, so the Cherokees did that. Lots of people see some other people writing and they make up their own. So just to say what exists. So here's some examples of Indigenous symbolism. This is a Lakota, because I saw some people from there. And then that's the Egyptians. They got the idea from the Babylonians. And then this is the Rongo Rongo in the Pacific Easter Island, and they said they saw the Spanish writing, and so they made their own one. And then here's the Cherokee one, they made their own one. And then this one is from Africa, and I heard they copied the Cherokee who went with Liberia when the slaves went back to Africa. Some Cherokee guy went there, and they copied from him. And this is the Creek and the Inuktitut Eskimo syllabary they created. So anyway, a lot of people created writing. So in Hawaii, this is a picture of Hawaii. So where did Hawaiian writing come from? Well, the Sumerians, then the Babylonians copied the Sumerians, then the Egyptians copied the Babylonians, and the Phoenicians copied the Egyptians, and the Greeks copied them, and then the Romans copied them. Then the Romans sent missionaries to England. Then the English sent missionaries to Tahiti, and they also had English people in America living in New England. So the New England people came as missionaries, and they also sent Tahitians, and they taught Hawaiians to write, sort of like the Tahitian way of writing. Is that confusing? But anyway, it came from someplace else and down there, and then we added the glottos and macrons. So that's how we write right down there. He olelo Hawaii keia mene. This here is Hawaiian writing. Okay, so that's what we use for writing. So we're going to look at the example now of the school. Our schooling from infant toddler all the way to grade 12 is 100% taught through Hawaiian. Just like if you go to a school and let's pick a state where they speak a lot of English, maybe New Hampshire. So you go to a school in New Hampshire, they speak English in preschool, they speak English in kindergarten, every class, even their French class, they're speaking French. Repeat after me, un, deux, and then the other numbers, whatever they are. So they use English to teach French. So we use Hawaiian to teach other languages like English. Okay, so it's the medium of education. And it's college prep curriculum. And culture-based means they learn it from a Hawaiian thinking, not from the Greeks or the Roman, like Aesop's fables that they study. We don't study that. Okay, so when we first wanted to do this, my gosh, everybody goes like, they won't be able to speak English. These are children who speak English at home now. They're worried. They won't be able to read and write. In fact, when we started, we were told you are forbidden to teach reading and writing because Hawaiian is an oral language. The state told us that. Of course, we refused because in our preschool already, the older Hawaiian ladies were teaching the children to read. But we were told you cannot because it's an oral language. And you can't, it's not academic. Then, if they go to school in Hawaiian, they can't go to college. You are hurting them. And then the last one is, okay, so why are you doing it in Hawaii? Why don't you teach them Japanese or Chinese? It's much more useful. You're wasting your time on Hawaiian when they should be learning like Chinese or Japanese. I gotta drink water. Sorry. Those are nice fears, but they're false. So we had our first high school graduation in 1999. We never had a single dropout. And the school is 97% Native Hawaiian and 70% free and reduced lunch, which means they're not that well off. Their parents haven't gone to college. The more well-to-do Native Hawaiians didn't really pick this kind of schooling. Then we have 87% right after high school going to college, which is better than the English schools, not just for the Native Hawaiians who do not as well as the rest of the kids in school, but better than the state average for college attendance. So, but we don't care about that. We want them to be able to speak Hawaiian and carry on the Hawaiian language. Okay, so this is all nice in terms of supporting, but the real goal is the one at the bottom. So when we started, everybody said, I don't care if my kid cannot go to college. I don't care if my kid cannot read English. I don't care. I want them to speak Hawaiian. It's my right to have this in our state. So that's how we were able to move it through. Otherwise, we would have got smashed. And some schools kind of followed the pressures and got weaker and weaker and weaker. But we didn't. Okay, so we're going to look at a video about how we teach reading. Now, everybody who speaks an indigenous language has a big advantage in reading because over the kids in English because the reading is simple. It's one letter, one sound, not like English where it's really harsh. So our kids can learn to read earlier. And if it's by syllables, like the Cherokees and I think lots of languages can do it by syllables, you can do it when they're younger. So we're going to see our little video about how they can learn to read in Okay, so anyway, this little video explains where this way of learning to read came from. And it's a modernized version of something that the old Hawaiians did because they didn't have enough missionaries to teach them how to read and write. So it's a big advantage of not knowing sometimes. Because part of the problem is when you know is you hear what these people say and you just follow them. So watch out, don't just follow us. You just follow them without thinking what's the reality of your own situation. So when people don't know, they don't know how to follow quite, and they'll do it more naturally, which is their own way of doing things. So the old Hawaiian way of doing things is all chanting. Sorry.
O ka hakalama ke kahi mea, e punana leo e ka punana leo. O ka imi na awa ma ke ia papahana puna na leo, kukulu ia ma luna o ke kahi kālai ike ku'una Hawai'i. A ole loa ka awale iki.
Ma la ma ke keiki I ke kalo.
Mai ka iloa. Ila ana ho'i, maka makau helu helu, ua pa'a ke kahi o nai hana. Ua lawe ka hiki ia ke ia mai ka mikionali, ke ia o nai hana helu helu ma ka palapala. I loko ke kai wā pokole, ua a'apo no, ka nui lehu lehu, a ma ka wā o ka ho'okahuli au puni mo'i, ua laha loa ma waena makahi o ke kanaiwa kumahiku pakeneka a oi o ka lāhui, ua hiki ke helu helu. He lāhui a ka maino hoi ke la.
The hakalama is a syllabary. It's a way of learning to read by syllables.
There are exactly 90 units to the syllabary, and once a child learns all 90, they can read any Hawaiian word that exists.
Wa,
Wa
I,
I
a,
a
na,
da
e. Wai anai.
wai anai.
It's a natural thing. Other languages have syllabaries. In fact, the one we most know about is Japanese and the hiragana syllabary. So Hawaiian can be read syllabally. But not only that, the hakalama is a perfect syllabary. In other words, there's not exceptions.
Unlike English, with its various complexities such as consonant clusters and multiple spellings for one sound.
Tough and philosophy versus fish. I mean, all the different ways you can spell F, the F sound. So English has such a complex spelling system that children have to memorize the spelling of each word.
In addition to the Hakalama syllabary itself, the method for teaching it is uniquely Hawaiian as well, a methodology that Dr. Wilson believes is rooted in Hawaiian learning environments dating back to the 1800s.
I think few people realize in Hawaii that when the missionaries came, they didn't really do a lot of teaching themselves. They developed the alphabet and they worked with the ali'i a little bit, but they really couldn't speak Hawaiian that well. So the ali'i started these kind of halau-like schools out in the country. And so what do they do in the halau? They chant. And the thing they could chant is these single syllable words. And so I believe that's how it happened.
O ka hana ana I nā kuhi lima, ka malama ana I kela ano lawena ke mele, he mea Hawai'i ia. Awili ia kela mau mea ma ka mea ho'okahi. Ke kahi manawa, ale no pana pana na kiki ma ka pana kupano. Eia no na a o ia I hele a maa, a pelala ko e a o ai mau ka ho'olohe wale no. O ia ke kahi kahua hauaku o ka helu helu. Ka kona keiki I ke ana kuhi kuhi ke kumu mai ke kahi ao ao aku, ai ke kahi ao ao. Mai ka hema, ai ka ākau. Ho'i hou I ke kahi ao ao, hema ākau mai luna a I lalo. A pela kako e helu helu ai, hema I ka ākau mai luna a I lalo. A lilo ke la mau ka nana wale kona mau makau maka. Lilo ke la he kahua.
All children go through certain stages in their psychological development, cognitive development. All children can divide up language into words by age 2. They can divide them up by syllables by age 4. And they can divide them up by individual sounds or phonemes by age 6. So if you're going to read by individual sounds, you're not going to be able to have the child learn to read until they're 6 at the very earliest. Really read. But if by syllables, such as the hakalama, you can have children reading by age 4.
Ka lepo.
No matter what language you learn to read in, you can transfer the skill of reading into another language, especially if it uses the same alphabet, like English and Hawaiian.
Mai kai ho'oia, mai kai.
The trick to reading is understanding the concept that these marks on paper represent words and thoughts. It's a very deep concept. But once they get it and they understand, all I have to do is figure out this puzzle, how it fits together to language. They're able to transfer it into any other language that they know. The hakalama is something Hawaiian that was somehow created by those kupuna and the ones before them and was used in Hawaiian families. and it produced some really good academic results. And just for historical purposes, to have it as part of the curriculum is important. But it's really great. It's an academically successful thing that is a true benefit that the Punana Leo keeps on moving forward. They keep on figuring out new ways to teach it and train teachers. So I'm really, really happy that we have it.
O keia kula o ka punana leo, he Hawai'i mana ano a pau. Pili pu e ke kale ike. No ka mea, e like me ko kako mau kupuna. Ike lako I ka ike ho, lomi ia, ho'ohana ia, au ano ho'o Hawai'i ia, ma ke ano he kupono. A oia pu ka kakohana, mana punana leo a pau. I kupono no ko kako nu ukia, I pukala na kila.
Okay, so if you want to look at that again, you can find it on YouTube under Hakalama. And now we're going to go to see a little kid, a kindergartner. He learned to read in preschool. Of course, we're not going to show you the worst reader. This is a pretty good one. His name is Kahiao Medeiros. And when they first come into kindergarten from the Punana Leo, they're given a reading test to see where they are. One of our problems is we have kids who come in, they already know Hawaiian, can read, and then we have these kids, HLL, Hawaiian language learners, who you gotta try to help learn the language of instruction. So he's not one who doesn't know the language of instruction. He speaks and reads and writes Hawaiian. So we're gonna see how well he can read. So they have a paragraph in Hawaiian that has the English translation, so you can hear him. If I had more time, I could show you different levels and how you can hear them sounding out by syllables, but he's a pretty good reader, so you can see.
Noho ka iiri maka na hele. Ai ki ia manu I ka pua he ka pua. Hele hua ka na pua ai nui. Ula ka Ula ka hulu o ka iiwi. He hulu nani loa keia. I ka wā kahiko, he mea vai loa ka hulu o ka iiwi. Hana ia na lei hulu me ka hulu iiwi. Hana ia na ula na ali'i me ka hulu iiwi. Hana pu ia na mahi ole me ka hulu iiwi. Like ka ula o ka hulu iiwi me ka ula o ka pua lehua. Keia wā a ore nui na iiwi. Aia lako iu ka loa ma ke kuahiwi. A ho maka ho.
Okay, so it's time, so he wants to start again so he can get more points, okay? Because they mark off every mistake that he makes. So I know you couldn't tell what mistakes, but he did make one mistake on one of the words that he did. So, but he's a really good reader. Okay, so so they do a lot of reading and writing in Hawaii because it's school. They got to do academics, so they got to do school. So this is just a picture of littler kids and older kids. But then we don't just teach them, well, they taught through Hawaii, now we got to teach them another language. So the first language we teach is to honor their ancestors. So I don't know if you've been to Hawaii, but everybody's like all kinds of different races all mixed together. So Native Hawaiians mixed with everybody. And the biggest population that came to Hawaii was from Japan, China, Philippines, Korea. They came to work on the sugar plantation. Then we had the Puerto Ricans and the Portuguese. Those were the main ones that came. And then they intermarried with the Hawaiians. So to honor the ancestors, we got a problem. How are we going to teach all those languages? So for the East Asians, we picked the kanji or Chinese characters and Japanese oral language. But the Chinese characters you can use to read Chinese and Japanese, and you can also use, Korean uses it a little bit, and the Vietnamese used to use it. So it's really important heritage. So we call it heritage language, but now I'm finding out over here they call Hawaiian heritage. And we say, Hawaiian's not the heritage, that's our official language, our medium of education. It's our state language. It's not heritage, it's our official language, just like your tribes probably have an official language. You don't call it heritage like it's, oh, just to honor the ancestors. But we got non-Hawaiian ancestors that people honor for heritage language. So first we do Japanese, Chinese, 6 years of that in elementary school. And now we're doing Latin because you can't teach Portuguese and Puerto Rican Spanish, and then Filipinos has Spanish words in their language. So we're doing Latin for that because Latin is related to all those. It's like the Western Chinese characters. Okay, so then we also have languages they learn outside of school. So we have English. We have 2 official languages in our state, English and Hawaiian, but most people don't speak either one. Most people speak Hawaii Creole English as their normal language, which is related to, I mean, it's from English, it's got Hawaiian words in it, but the US Department of whatever decided that it's not, it's so different from English, it's a different language. So children, of course, if they most of them speak this at home. Then they learn standard English like from TV, like we heard from Krashen about you can watch TV, you can go to the grocery store, and of course you want to try and speak your best English or at certain places where they use standard English. So, but Pidgin or Hawaii Creole English is the main one. So then we start English as a class, a 1-hour class in 5th grade. However, they already learned English by going out in the community. So, first of all, I want to mention only 1/3 of our kids speak Hawaiian at home, and of that third, I don't know what percentage do they have both parents speaking Hawaiian. So, the kid who speaks Hawaiian at home speaks it with mother, father, and siblings, but everybody else on the street is speaking Pidgin. And their grandparents can't speak Hawaiian, so they're speaking Pidgin with their grandparents or English. Or if they have grandparents, of course, they might have Japanese or whatever language too. So, but they learned English already out there. So we start teaching them, and we teach it as standard English. We don't use Pidgin in class. They have to wear a hat and act like they're a different person, not be themselves. And they're taught through Hawaiian, so the teacher says, open your book, but they begin with the same books they use in the 5th grade in the English school. So we just assume they can read English, because it's the same alphabet and they can already speak it. And we don't do Hawaiian stories in English. We only do ILIS or Anglo stories because they're learning it as an Anglo language, not as a Hawaiian language. Hawaiian stories is in Hawaiian. Okay, so we're going to look at a girl. This is an example of a student who speaks only Hawaiian at home. Wait, oh, before you get there, I mentioned this already. Kikai. Ilalo. Oh, Luna kena ilalo. Okay, I mentioned this already. Even those who speak Hawaiian at home, they teach themselves to read English. Like maybe you teach yourself to read Spanish, like we see enchilada and taco, and to us taco means an octopus. Okay, so, and you teach yourself to read Spanish because you just see it written and you know how to read. So they teach themselves to read English because they know the English words. Okay, so she graduated, she only went to school in Hawaiian all her life, preschool, she only speaks Hawaiian at home. At the end of grade 4 is when they stop only having Hawaiian and Japanese. Now, grade 5, they're going to have English, Japanese, English and Japanese. So she is going to read, my wife said, we got to prove people, so we got her and got this book. It's called something of Narina or something that, you know, some of you younger kids know it's about the lions or something.
Narnia.
Narnia, okay. All right. So they like to read those kind of books, the kids.
Loha o ko ino kalamana mana. E Helen vai ka papa elima I ke pule a o
So
kia
she's
kala
saying
I
what her name is and
valu
she's
o
going to
Iulai
5th grade.
makahiki e lua kaukani umikumakahi. The beginning of the end of the world. Slowly the door opened again and out there came a figure as tall as and straight as the girls, but not so slender. It carried no light, but light seemed to come from it. As it came near, Lucy saw that it was like an old human. His silver beard came down to his bare feet in front, and his silver hair hung down to his heels behind, and his robe appeared to be made from the fleece of silver sheep. He looked so mild and grave that once more all the travelers rose to their feet and stood in silence. But the old man came on without speaking to the travelers and stood on the other side of them, of the table opposite to his daughter. Then both of them held up their arm before them and turned to face the east. In that position, they began to sing. I wish I could write down the song, but no one who was present could remember it. Lucy said afterward that it was high, almost shrill, but very beautiful.
Okay. So you could tell she didn't know all those words too, right? Could you tell that? Especially one word that some of you people use a lot here, but we don't have at home, about the sheep, about the fleas. She said the fleas of the sheep, because she was sounding out the word, but she doesn't know what that fleece is. And some of the other words she tried to sound out from English. So she is not, if she were in an English school, they would put her in a special class as an English learner. But look, she taught herself English. We don't have to put her in an English learner class. So it's kind of like what you heard from Krashen yesterday. If you have exposure to the language and you, whatever, if you can already read, why do you spend your time in that English learner class? When just go teach yourself. So that's how all of the kids teach themselves to read English and to speak it just by going out and interacting with the English people. Okay, so so again, by the time they graduate from high school, they have the same English like all the kids in the English school. You cannot tell that they went to school in Hawaiian. That's one of our problems. People don't know when they meet them. They have no idea that they speak Hawaiian or they went to school in Hawaiian. The target language for us, even though we don't teach Hawaiian as a language, we do have language arts in Hawaiian, but they're much better in Hawaiian than somebody who would go to a bilingual program, which we don't have anymore. Oh no, we do. We have, some schools tried that, and the kids ended up not being able to speak Hawaiian. Dual language is something that they have for immigrants, where the immigrants already speak the language and they put half immigrants and half people who don't speak the immigrant language together, but we don't have any immigrants from Hawaii in Hawaii. And then standard immersion, they keep making it less and less and less and less of the target language because they're assuming that English is the dominant language. Like in Canada, French immersion is for the English, it's not for the French. The French go to French medium schools so they can maintain French as their primary language. So that's what we are. Our primary language is Hawaiian, even though it grew out of second language speakers. It was made extinct basically among children. So these children here are seniors from last year, and they instituted something called a Seal of Biliteracy in Hawaii. I think they copied it from someplace over, well, in the other states. And our understanding was they did it to help the EL students get credit for their language. So maybe I'm wrong, but we had to fight to say, since we have 2 official languages, our students get to count English as their world language. And so they're giving tests for the other kids, like in French, Japanese, Spanish, and then we said we want our test in English. So they all passed at the same level. They got the seal of the largest group of students in any school that got the seal of biliteracy. They have to have a B average in school and B average in Hawaiian language arts, and then get this. So they have high bilingualism, so they say they're smarter and don't get Alzheimer's. I don't know if that's really going to happen. They can learn other languages much faster. And the main thing is they identify with being Hawaiian, being academically smart, and doing better in school than the other kids. So here's some graduates. Loyola Marymount, that boy over there went to Stanford after going to school all in Hawaii. That's our old senator. Akaka, girl works for National Public Radio in Hawaii. He just won a Grammy, one of our students. They can go out in the rest of the world. Here's our fellow schools here, Navajo, Ojibwe, and here's a Mohawk school, and there's several other languages making schools like this. And our name of our center is Mokuola Honua. Mokuola is the name of this little island. It means island of life or curing island. So we like to think of as bringing languages back to life as a curing thing. There's a Hawaii there. Well, Honua means the world and has some other meanings in Hawaiian. So there we have the world with Hawaii, and there we have the bigger world. And so thank you very much. I made the 10 minutes. Jason is going to show you the thing to fill out. And then in our breakout, we'll talk about how we got to this point, because I could see that there's some information missing here on how we got to the point where we have kids talking like that.
Okay, mahalo. Another survey, a post-presentation survey, I'm going to kind of ask you to fill it out. You can go online with this URL, SurveyMonkey, or Sheila is passing out a little piece of paper with a QR code on it, and you can use a QR reader app on your phone to get to the survey faster.
Maybe somebody could help her pass it out too, because it's only her.
Ryan, how about you go help Sheila pass out the paper? Mahalo, Ryan.
Okay. I'm just going to say a few things about how we got to this point while we're waiting. When we, Native Hawaiians have a lot more political power in Hawaii than Native people do here. So they're about 1/5 of the population. And in the territorial period, they were even stronger. So the Native Hawaiians controlled the territorial legislature. They required Hawaiian to be taught as a language in the schools because the federal government wouldn't let it be used as a medium of instruction like it was in the 1800s. So they required that it be taught in high schools, that it be taught at the university as a class, that it be taught in, we have certain areas that are similar to reservations, that they'd be taught in those schools beginning in 1924. And it wasn't until 1986 that we had a fluent second language speaker of Hawaiian. So think it was like almost 40-something years before we got a second language speaker. And the person who was a second language speaker had taken high school Hawaiian, then he took college Hawaiian all the way to 4 years of it, but he really learned by practicing with his older relatives. So then we started a new, my wife and I were students of his, and he started a radio program, talking Hawaiian on the radio, young people getting together with the older people. And then my wife and I started a new program in Hilo on an outer island, and we teach our college students beginning second year totally through Hawaiian. So use the immersion idea to teach adults. So meaning college students. So their first year, they study using English and Hawaiian, and then we teach through Hawaiian. So we have sort of what you heard yesterday about learning by being immersed in it, but at the same time, what we teach is the grammar and the vocabulary, because they're not just getting it right, it's supposed to be correct. So we teach the grammar and the fine points of the vocabulary, pronunciation, everything, but through the Hawaiian language after the first year. And we teach culture courses through Hawaiian, we teach music through Hawaiian, we teach everything like going to school in Japan through Japanese, except for the first year. The first year is kind of mixed. And that's how we get the teachers. You can't have an immersion school unless you have teachers who are fluent. So most of the other schools in our coalition have native speakers as their teachers, but that's very dangerous because your native speakers, unless you have a community where everybody's speaking, you have an age limit on all of us. Even like myself, I'm a second language speaker. I should be retired already, and my wife too. So you have to find a way to create new adult speakers who can be the teachers. That's a big problem that different, like Ryan is going to talk about, and I think Finley McLeod, and how to get your parents to use it at home. It looks real nice in the video, but you don't show that when they turn into teenagers, they start to want to speak English among them, or Pidgin, just like all the other public schools. They're supposed to speak standard English in school, and then when they get to be teenagers, they get a little bit rebellious, and they want to just talk Pidgin all the time and not follow what the teacher says. I'm not saying that they don't speak Hawaiian, do other writing in Hawaiian and everything, but they start to go off on their hormones, and they're not thinking about the community. So you need to get them later when they pass that period and are serious and can bring it back to the next generation. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll have a breakout later where you can ask the questions. Mahalo nui. Okay.